Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wheaton. We are expanding on to the left side of town today, and I think so far the series has been pretty successful. We have a high demand for industry, and I am, of course, trying to use the Industries DLC, so we're going to be laying out some additional farmland that's kind of on the perimeter of Wheaton here. It's close to the waterway. This side is going to be a little bit more specifically for the crop side of the industry. There's no animal pens over here or anything like that. And overall, trying to get this to become a profitable city. You can see right now our income is in the negative, so laying down a lot of these buildings is pretty expensive, and it is going to be a tight fit with our balance at the moment. But we'll see how far we can get. So again, we are trying to use a mixture of roadways, you know, going from the standard 2-lane to industrial 2-lane, and then out once we're in the farmland, we're gonna go a little bit more country road here. Just help kind of push things along. I'm sure really there might be a single double lane going through, just providing some more standardized or some proper roadways for a lot of this traffic. If you guys haven't done much with industries yet, you'll probably know or don't know, I guess, depending. It is pretty high on your traffic load, so you want to have multiple entrances into these areas, multiple exits. You can also help this by doing one-way streets, but for now we're just gonna continue as is, lay it all out, and then worry about the details maybe a little bit later. We're gonna do kind of a mixture of corn and what seems to be wheat in this section. I think the dark green is potatoes, and just for some color contrast, the other side I think was corn as well, but the wheat over here is just gonna bring some color to the area that maybe the standard green doesn't really supply, so that's cool. The farm buildings with silos and stuff, they look pretty cool. I do hope eventually, once the workshop keeps getting upgraded, which it always does in this game, that we might get some new kind of custom industrial buildings. At this stage of this recording, the DLC is still relatively new, so here eventually we will get caught up to a little bit more of a current build, I think within the next episode or so. And then your guys' suggestions and ideas from the comments down below will start kind of impacting what we do, how things progress. But, for now, it's just a whole bunch of speed builds for you guys. Hopefully you're enjoying the series as much as I am. So, laying out some farm fences, just to kind of give it a little bit of character from far away. We do try and use a mixture of overgrown and muddy roadways. I do like to use a combination of these to provide like certain areas with a little bit more character in terms of potential heavy traffic spots, right? So this kind of gravel, concrete, or just gravel dirt roads are going to become a little bit dirty, a little bit muddy with more people using them, so you just want to try and hint at that. The downside to those type of roads is I find the textures to be a little too repetitive. They look good, but really I might try and see if I can break up the nodes and make them smaller. That way I can just have spots of the texture. If not, I'll have to decal the roadway out, which would be fine. I just want, the roads have the decals usually baked into them, so it kind of helps speed up the process. Gonna concrete in this grain silo over here, and potentially put some concrete textures down just to see how that looks. Try and make it maybe look a little patchy, a little worn down, so that it blends into the roadway a little bit more. Add some cracks, wears, strains, and of course those tire tracks to kind of really make it feel like this area is heavily used in a way. I think we also have some greenhouses, which is a little bit more unique to this side. I like the roundabout with a little bit of a water tower. I don't know how realistic that is. I would assume the water tower would probably be on the hill or maybe a place with a higher elevation. It seems a little silly to put it right by a river, but you know, just adds a little bit of verticality out here in the middle of no man's land. Gonna have a few just offshooting dirt roads. We could put homes by these. We might put some service utilities out here as well. Gonna mass get rid of the trees, and we're basically gonna go in and by hand retree this whole area, make it, you know, blend in a little bit better, make it a little bit more dense out here. We're adding that utility kind of station, whether that's like a little substation or some sort of like I don't want to say storage. I don't quite know. Maybe a monitoring station of some kind. Maybe they monitor the river nearby here. But either way, this is just one of the things we're gonna do. We're gonna run telephone poles, double of them, along the interstate because I think that looks cool. No real other reason. I could have really just used underground electricity to get this through here, but I do think it might be important to run kind of electrical cables visibly across certain areas just so you have that look, you know. It's really a common thing to see in the country, just large industrial kind of electrical cables going through, clearing out trees, and then you just line them with low set bushes. It looks really nice and fits the area pretty well, I have found. So we got the little substation thing in. I might even download an asset for an actual substation to replace that later with. And then we're gonna also add a little bit of a country road. This is gonna be a bypass for the town itself. The town traffic is gonna become pretty heavy with all this industry going through it, and I don't really want that too much. I do want these vehicles to kind of specifically use offshoot roads, places where there might not be other civilians using. So, you know, there's no homes really out this way, so there's no sense for normal vehicle traffic to be coming through here or anything like that. And we'll also shut off pretty much all industrial traffic from entering the town, and that'll kind of force them also to go this route. It's a nice little road. We will have to try and rework the interstate at some point. The current default map, it's a beautiful intersection, pretty unique looking, but as the town kind of progresses and as we get a little bit more traffic flowing through, that interchange is probably gonna have to be reworked completely so that it kind of becomes a little bit more believable in general. Trying to get this parking lot to work, but I figured that standard parking lot just would have gotten in the way of traffic, so we're just gonna upgrade that to a quick little 2-lane, keep half the parking lot to the side there. And the parking lots, I think, give Wheaton its character and its footprint. You know, it's a lot of concrete to be putting down in a section, large swaths of just open areas, and it just looks pretty nice. We're gonna line the roadways with just some small little trees and then just blend them with some variation going through and a bit away, using a little bit of a technique. I call this like the wall of green. If you guys ever notice going into like forests or heavily lush areas, what you'll find is a heavy, dense section of greenery, right? Because at the edge of the forest, what's happening is that all the sunlight is visible and all these plants are getting it from the bottom grass level all the way up to the treetops. And so you get a wide variety of plant life because there's just so much space around, and you know, competition is a little bit easier out there at the edge. As you go into the woods and foresty areas, what you'll find is the lower kind of shrubs, bushes would tend to get thinner and lighter until they kind of almost go away. Kind of depends on what species is down there, but you know, that's the transition that I kind of look for. This kind of thick wall of green into a more sparse kind of foliage down below. Here I am playing around a little bit with the rails. I do want cargo trains to be going through Wheaton. I figured for now this would be an interesting spot to put one, you know, out here on the far end of town, have it run up through the mountains by the interstate. That would be, you know, a lovely view of trains going through, and we'll even like get some modded kind of Steam Workshop trains eventually, some longer ones, some more proper freight trains, maybe American style stuff. But that'll come in due time. City Skylines is a bit of a slow game for me, at least, and if you want to do it right, take your time as much as possible. I'm trying to get the gradients correct. It's pretty tough to do rails through hills in City Skylines. I found they definitely are more suited for as level as possible kind of areas, you know, and if you have to create underpasses, overpasses to do so, it is to your advantage. But you know, eventually we kind of get a slope that I like. We are using a farming kind of freight station down here just to make it look a little bit, you know, more country. You know, it's not the main commercial area. It's just a nice little silo, grain silo. Load up the cargo and then off it goes. Smooth out the gradient a little bit, bring up the telephone poles because now they're underground. This slope is generally, in my opinion, still too steep. So it's all about kind of getting down at eye level, taking a look at it. It's going to be probably reworked multiple times in this series. Trains is not something that I've messed with at all in City Skylines. So in my opinion, it's probably going to be my weakest part of the game. I mean, I'm interested into trains personally. I like trains. In fact, when I went into Japan, I got some model trains while I was there, some in scale. And I'm interested to learn more, but that's just gonna have to slowly build up. And hopefully you guys can give me some tips and tricks in the comments, of course. We're gonna, man, I fiddled with this thing for so long, don't I? Probably could have cut some of this. I think at some point I'll kind of give up for a little while. At some point in this video. Anyways, so that is pretty much straightened out. We're gonna go ahead and try and detail this section in a jiffy. It's gonna, you know, just kind of take up both sides, hopefully, of the railway system. With a little bit of a crossing on each side just to give access to a potential, you know, maybe small warehouse or something like that. Again, this area is probably going to need rework the most. It just, like, I like the idea of it. I don't think there's really enough room for it, though. And eventually I do download a whole kind of railway replacer mod, which is going to throw another full wrench into that whole process. It's a really in-depth mod with, you know, catenary replacers, the whole kind of HD rail system looks good, you know, some proper kind of turnoffs, and the tracks will kind of require a little bit more room because of that. And I'm still learning it and playing around with it today, so that's just gonna have to be worked on. But you can see, using some of the vanilla industrial buildings, you know, I think the industrial buildings are kind of the most believable parts, or at least the low-end industrial of City Skylines. I mean, this is 100% looks legit, right? We got silos, we got some elevators for you know, cargo, grain, sand, what have you. It's generic, and just that nice kind of tin, aluminum kind of structures, very boxy. it just looks, I think, the part, and kind of builds up that section there. I am also thinking about running a train section through the town to another industrial area, or at least an old warehouse area, which might become a little bit more proper looking than out here, kind of in farmland section with some sheds, tractors, things like that. Yeah, it's just gonna be a whole process to try and get some of these buildings to merge correctly and look kind of like proper sheds, trying to use place down multiples of the same building so I can get the roof colors to realign. That's a fun thing to try and do whenever you're trying to mash structures together. Another nice thing about doing this kind of detail work, by the way, is not only does this kind of fill in a bit of an industrial section to the farmland, it's going to provide a whole bunch of jobs out in this section. So that's really cool. We'll turn off parking near the streets here. Don't really want a whole bunch of people parking on these roads. They should be pretty clear, in my opinion, of traffic, especially since I don't think I put any stop signs on any of these crossings. So people are just going to be running into each other, you know, things like that. We'll try and fit in some, you know, some more suburbs. We're going to get from really dense kind of family homes, you know, with small yards, to spacing them out as we get closer and farther. Well, closer and farther, that's a really redundant way to say something. Farther from the downtown area and closer to the countryside, if I could speak, things are going to get a little more sparse, spread out. Maybe thicker trees, bigger trees, just to fill in some of the area. But you can see it's just about really transitioning from medium density to really light country density, even though this is definitely a scaled down version, I think. You know, how quickly it goes from a higher density to straight up farmland is probably pretty unrealistic, but that's fine. You know, we want to try and fit everything in, guys, and try and get this city to make money so that I can then go back in and delete half of it and rebuild it, because I'm crazy like that. That's just sounds like something I would do at this point, isn't it? Decided that we would have a little bit more of a just aesthetic only field over here, with some hay bales. This is just like maybe a grass section that they trim and then sell off over to the more animal side of the farmlands, right? Trying to put down some hay, potentially decal work to try and get this to look good. The problem with the decals, though, is that it looks okay kind of up close like this, but as we zoom out, what'll happen is that'll go away and it'll just be grass anyways. So it kind of becomes a, do you want it to look good when it's zoomed in, or do you want it to look decent from all kind of angles and sides? I also wanted, you know, to try and see, well, should I use dirt or what have you to make this look like cut grass, or a different grass texture than just the standard kind of nearby grass textures, whether that's using, you know, oil kind of painting, or oil resource kind of areas, or using kind of iron ore resource areas to do so. But I think we're gonna kind of stick with decals at this point. Where it's mowed, you can see thin pieces of grass, hay bales, and then we're gonna use kind of hay over on the other side to make it look like this tractor and baler are still working at picking up a lot of this stuff to then turn into bales. Now I know this would be kind of pushed into piles and strips, and then you'd run it over it with the baler to pick it up. I have played Farming Sim in my day. I kind of know what's going on. Not really, it's a lie. But you know, it just adds a little bit more character to this. In fact, I should have a lot more areas like this, just plain kind of grass land nearby. I think it would help push the organic countryside a little bit more, because if you take a look at the standard farmland, it's very square, very unnatural looking, very grid-like, and that's a bit of a problem with me. So anything to kind of ease that off a little bit, I think the better, because if you ever look at Google Maps and just look at, you know, the countryside, it's just odd shape with odd shape, just everywhere. Of course, when you start getting to the flat states, they can probably do some proper grids, but like just looking at, like, say West Virginia, they just kind of fit it where they can, and that's where they're gonna put it. There is a farmhouse out here, so I decided to at least add some trees for them, add some colorful bushes, just to make some unique fixtures. I was thinking about adding some trees, dividing up some of these crop fields, see if that would help maybe bring in a little bit more of a natural aspect. Didn't really work out in my opinion, so decided to just kind of leave it as is. We'll put some hay bales in a trailer, make it actually look like we are doing some sort of farming job out here. Looks cool, perfect stacking skills. And with that, we're pretty much done with today's speed build. So we're gonna go ahead and look at some cinematics. We'll see you next time in Wheaton, and until then, see you guys later.